Hello, everyone, and welcome to Walking Through the Bible. Just because someone is suffering due to sin doesn't mean that the one meting out God's punishment is always doing right. It is not wrong for the state to execute a murderer, but it would be wrong if the state only selected who to execute among the murderers based on someone's race or gender. In Psalm 69, David is likely being punished by Absalom for the sins he committed with Bathsheba. Absalom drove him from the throne, yet the way he did so, by lying about David and turning the people against David, was not right. How did David want God to treat his oppressors? Let's find out. So if you have a Bible with you, turn to Psalm 69. We're going to be reading from verses 13 to 28. If you don't have a Bible, don't worry. Just follow along with us on the screen. The version that we'll be reading from is the New King James Version. So, Psalm 69, beginning at verse 13. To the chief musician, set to the lilies, a psalm of David. But as for me, my prayer is to you, O Lord, in the acceptable time. O God, in the multitude of your mercy, hear me in the truth of your salvation. Deliver me out of the mire, and let me not sink. Let me be delivered from those who hate me, and out of the deep waters. Let not the flood water overflow me, nor let the deep swallow me up. And let not the pit shut its mouth on me. Hear, O Lord, for your loving kindness is good. Turn to me according to the multitude of your tender mercies, and do not hide your face from your servant, for I am in trouble. Hear me speedily. Draw near to my soul and redeem it. Deliver me because of my enemies. You know my reproach, my shame, and my dishonor. My adversaries are all before you. Reproach has broken my heart, and I am full of heaviness. I looked for someone to take pity, but there was none, and for comforters, but I found none. They also gave me gall for my food, and for my thirst they gave me vinegar to drink. Let their table become a snare to them, and their well-being a trap. Let their eyes be darkened so that they do not see, and make their loins shake continually. Pour out your indignation upon them, and let your wrathful anger take hold of them. Let their dwelling place be desolate. Let no one live in their tents. For they persecute the ones you have struck, and talk of the grief of those you have wounded. Add iniquity to their iniquity, and let them not come into your righteousness. Let them be blotted out of the book of the living, and not be written with the righteous. As we said at the top, David is being punished for his sins. He is being punished grievously, but it is something that he can bear. We know this to be true because in this section of Psalm 69, David calls upon God to be merciful, to deliver him out of the mire and not let him sink. Do deliver him out of the deep waters, so that the flood waters did not overflow him, nor to let the pit, death, swallow him up. David prayed to God that in the acceptable time, God's time, that God would deliver David through his abundant mercy. Remember, David knew God's promise to him about the Messiah. Therefore, David had full confidence that God would fulfill that promise, not through Absalom, but through another son, namely Solomon. David was confident that the Lord would show his loving kindness towards him and would not hide his face from him, for David had repented. As to when God would draw near, David wished that to happen speedily, but again, David would be patient for God's time. God knew David's shame and reproach cast upon him by his enemies, and so David wanted God to remove that soon, for David was full of heaviness. What about David's enemies? When God did deliver David, what did David want God to do to them? He wanted them to be punished according to the Lord's will. There were those David looked to for pity, but he found none. He looked for comforters and found none either. He sought food, and all he was given was gall and vinegar. Now, David is speaking symbolically here, for what he is saying is that he wasn't given anything of sustenance by others. But David is also speaking prophetically here as well, for there would be one who was reproached by men for nothing that he had done that would be literally given this, Jesus. For in the book of Matthew, chapter 27, verses 33 and 34 says this. And when they had come to the place called Golgotha, that is to say, place of a skull, they gave him sour wine mingled with gall to drink, but when he had tasted it, he would not drink. In the Gospels, we know that Jesus wasn't suffering because of his own sins, but because of the sins of others. He was offered these things as a way to dull the pain, not to provide strength, and so in having these things offered to him, These words of David were fulfilled here. Upon those who reproached David, what specifically did David want God to do? To let their table become a snare to them, and let their eyes be darkened so that they do not see. Again, David is speaking symbolically, but what he is saying is for God to take that which should have been for their welfare and let it become a trap. In other words, let them be trapped by the good things of their table like a wild beast by bait. Let their understanding, which they have partially blinded, be wholly darkened. Let their dwelling places become desolate, so nobody lives in their tents, and add iniquity to their iniquity. Judge them according to their deeds. And when God did this, God's indignation and wrath would be poured out upon these people for the evil they have performed. The results would be that these people would be cast away from the presence of God, and their names would not be written among the righteous. This is not because David desired that people not be able to turn away from their evil deeds, but because these people refused to turn away from their evil deeds, and so were deserving of punishment. It's this thought that the Apostle Paul would later latch on to in Romans 11 when he quotes a section of this psalm while discussing Israel's departure from God through their rejection of Christ. For Romans 11 verses 7 to 10 says this: "What then? Israel has not obtained what it seeks, but the elect have obtained it, and the rest were blinded. Just as it is written, God has given them a spirit of stupor, eyes that they should not see, and ears that they should not hear, to this very day." And David says, let their table become a snare and a trap, a stumbling block and a recompense to them. Let their eyes be darkened so that they do not see, and bow down their back always. Israel had the law of Moses, that which was to their benefit, for it prophesied of Christ. Yet they gloried in the law and not in God, and so rejected the Messiah. Therefore, Paul was saying that God was going to use that which was to be for their benefit to be a snare and a trap for them. The law gave them blessings if they followed God, and cursings if they didn't. They weren't following God, so he would give them according to that which he promised them. And since the law couldn't remit one single sin by the blood of bulls and goats, anybody who didn't come to Christ would remain in their sins. God had given the Jews enough revelation to believe in Christ. No more would be coming. It was either obey Christ in faith and be saved, or reject him and be lost. That is true for both the Jew and the Gentile alike. So while Psalm 69 isn't really talking about salvation in Christ, the attitude spoken of by David is the same attitude of those who rejected Christ, which is why Paul refers to this psalm in his argument. What would David do, though, because of God's salvation? We'll find out, the Lord willing, in the next lesson. With that, our time is up for today. The Lord willing, we hope you'll join us for tomorrow's discussion of Psalm 69, verses 29 to 36, as we continue our walk through the Bible, one verse at a time. We thank you for watching Walking Through the Bible today. If you have any questions or comments, you can leave them below. But if you like this video, we ask that you consider subscribing to our channel so you won't miss out on other videos in our series, as well as share this video among your friends so that the saving message of Jesus Christ can go out to the whole world.